This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Caravan of Garbage, where we are working our way through the Matrix trilogy, all three films leading up to a fourth film.
That's right, which will be coming out in the future.
No doubt.
What point in the future, we don't know.
I think December.
Oh, then we do know. Unless it's rescheduled. You never know in this crazy world.
It's HBO Max. It's probably
not
day and date or whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways,
also, it's called The Matrix.
What?
The Matrix?
I said Matrix.
They say it a bunch of times in the movie.
Not in this movie. I think you're thinking of a different movie.
Maybe.
But listen, if you could leave it like that, it'd be great, because yes, this is The Matrix Reloaded. You happy with that? You happy?
Yeah.
But I want to start with this quote, if you don't mind, from the Team Deacons podcast. This is from the Matrix trilogy's director of photography, right, who described his experience. He says, everything that was good about the first experience was not good about the last two. We weren't free anymore. People were looking at you. There was a lot of pressure. In my heart, I didn't like them. I felt like we should be going in another direction. There was a lot of friction and a lot of personal problems, and it showed up on screen, to be honest with you. It was not my most elevated moment, nor was it anyone else's. The Wachowskis had read this damn book by Stanley Kubrick that said, actors don't do natural performances until you wear them out. So let's go to take 90. I want to dig up Stanley Kubrick and kill him. There you go.
That's a heck of a thing, isn't it? Because in addition to that, the 90 take thing, and I'm sure it wasn't 90 takes all the time, but if this is true, it was probably a lot.
Yeah.
These were the Reloaded and Revolutions were also filmed back to back. Is that correct?
Well, not only were they filmed back to back, they also filmed the footage for the game Enter the Matrix.
Oh my God.
Which we might come back to after this trilogy is completed. But yeah, this was a huge production.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers obviously had a massive hit on their hand with The Matrix. I think it caught them off guard how well it went. So they quickly rolled, a couple more into production.
This sounds exactly like difficult second album syndrome, which
Yeah.
I guess you could also say difficult second movie syndrome. You could probably say it in most industries.
Difficult second child syndrome, which is you. You're a second. Wait, so am I.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And we're the worst. We're both the worst. But obviously, the first time in, the studio had no expectations. They were probably even like, this might be a flop. But
Yeah.
We exist in an era where we will take some chances on things that are sort of original IP, sort of.
Yep.
And then it's all of a sudden it was a hit, and they're like, all right, now we've got to make this perfect. You've got to let the filmmakers make artistic choices, but also you'd rather they just did the same thing they did again, but bigger, because that's what people watched last time.
And I think, though, look, I wasn't big on this movie when it came out.
Same.
But I think there's a lot of really good stuff in this still.
Yeah, look, when first time I saw this movie in the cinemas, I was but a young boy. Oh, that's not actually true. I was an adult at the time, but I was a young adult. And what's interesting upon a rewatch of this is that some of the things in this movie seem way more believable, and some things, conversely, seem way more absurd. For example...
Sure, let's do it.
An example of the latter, right at the start of the movie, there's a flash forward where Trinity has to get inside a building.
Yeah.
To do so, she crashes a motorcycle into a guard post, and the guard post explodes, and all the guards who are outside, they immediately grab their nightsticks and they go to attack her, despite the fact it's after midnight and they've already clocked off. As an adult, I'm like, as if. You'd be like, later, losers. Later midnight to 8 a.m. shift. We'll see you never.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not getting paid for this. I'm not getting paid to fight a black-clad leather Barbie situation. What's going on here with a motorcycle and a crane kick? Get out of here.
Do you get workers' comp if you get cracked in the back of the head with a motorcycle helmet and you nearly die?
Not after you clocked off. Absolutely not. They'd be like, you should have followed the rules.
Yeah, that's it. Look, like you said, it's a tough follow-up because, so much of The Matrix was a surprise in terms of the fight sequences, in terms of the twist. Everything about it felt fresh and new, even if some of it wasn't necessarily. And I think there is a struggle here to kind of keep that energy up and keep expectations high. And some of it works, but then at the same time, there's things like Neo feels a bit depowered or a bit befuddled. Do you know what I mean? Where he seems... I know they've upgraded some of the agents and he's fighting things that he hasn't seen necessarily before. And there's rules of the Matrix which he's coming up against that he wasn't aware of necessarily.
Sure, yeah.
But I feel like they have stripped that back a bit.
Really? Because I always thought that
there are exceptions.
One of the biggest issues with, I think, The Matrix Reloaded especially, is that given that he gained essentially godlike power at the end of the first one, they should have made him a background character in this. And he is to some extent, but he is also just, dominating a lot of the action sequences, despite the fact that he cannot be harmed in any real way.
Well, I remember you always had a problem with the moment where he's fighting everybody on the stairwell. And it's terrific, and everybody's balletic, and everybody, like every individual person in that scene is an incredible stunt performer and martial artist. But there's a moment where he gets hit with a blade and he blocks it with his bare hand. And there's like a couple of drops of blood. And the French guy's like, I'm French, and do you see that this guy is only a man? Don't even worry about it. And you were always like, yeah, but you'd have to pin him down.
And just wail on him for days with that sword. It's not like it took some of his fingers off.
No.
It was just like, this is interesting, right? But and again, in theory, those action sequences are incredible, and some of them in practice are incredible.
Yeah,
I think the what's called the Burley Brawl, the situation where he's fighting the many Agent Smiths. In theory, that's great, but it was 2003. And not all the effects were there at the time.
Yeah.
And, there is a moment, it does, again, the choreography looks incredible.
Yep.
But at a certain point, it becomes entirely CGI.
Yeah.
And it really takes the weight out of everything. Also, something I noticed in the rewatch of that scene is that one of the reasons it doesn't seem that great to me is because it isn't really particularly visceral.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of kind of like, pushes and taps and punches, but they never feel like they're making really any impact on anyone. There's no broken bones.
There's not like tiles flying off walls.
There's just sort of people being swatted away, like with a fly swatter.
I mean, that's a fair point, but what I always liked about that sequence is that, I mean, even though you can see, like initially, that some of those background people are not Hugo Weaving. Like some of them they've face replaced or digital doubled, and some of them they haven't. But it does feel very balletic, and I guess they're both at this point invincible men. And he is struggling not because Smith on his own is that much of a challenge, but if there's 80, which is how many there ends up being, it is. But yeah, it hits a point where it's just like, oh, this is a video game cutscene.
Yeah, and also I think maybe you've hit on something there, is I think if the Wachowskis did go to Warner Brothers and said, we're going to do a scene where Neo breaks Hugo Weaving's neck 80 times, they'd be like, we cannot sell Happy Meals.
We can do 40.
Yeah, we can do 40 at most. Yeah, so there's sort of a reason it sort of has to be a little bit sort of flyweight and not particularly visceral.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are scenes where that, is more on the cards, but I think perhaps there is a limit to how much blood you can put in this.
I think this also has some pacing issues because, for the first 40 minutes, there's just a bit of like faffing about and whatever, and you're kind of re-establishing the universe and reintroducing characters. And there are things that I like. For example, you meet the other captains and crew, right? And everybody...
What's their overall aesthetic?
Just the same, is it? Everybody's got a weird snakeskin vest or...
Some of them are burgundy.
I just think that whole look...
Yeah.
I don't remember thinking it at the time, but... What a ridiculous pack of losers,
right?
Just in general, everybody's just a big nerd.
It's Joe Bluth's like magician alliance.
It really does feel that way.
What I like also about that is just so many like Australian character actors all packed into one room.
Oh my
being
God.
like, okay, we're gonna put you in a silver 4-button suit and a turtleneck, and then you have to talk about spaceships going to Zion or whatever.
That's right. You were in the TV series Police Rescue, and now you're in this. But I also like about that group. But what I also like about that group is Morpheus is considered like a real weirdo and religious zealot.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them are like, fuck this guy, what's wrong with him? And then he goes to the big rave, which I fucking hate, by the way.
Yeah,
I hate that.
And I understand that it's probably meant to, symbolize how, humanity...
It's gross!
It is, yeah, yucko. But it's meant to symbolize, humanity's passion and their humanity, their underlying, this is what the machines don't have.
Put some cardboard down on that floor.
For breakdancing?
Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, but just like, and he gets up and he's like, everyone's gonna live and the squids aren't gonna get in and Neo's gonna save us. And he's wrong. Like, it's not true. To an extent, I guess.
But I think that's an interesting take. Because,
I agree.
Because, I mean, he's been right so long. It's interesting that he would be wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
They took that character leap. I think that's actually kind of interesting.
I was kind of excited to see Zion, and you get that clean white interface of them going in, which I thought was a really interesting choice, and they're just sitting in dirty chairs, you know what I mean, with a needle in the back of their head. But aesthetically and just kind of the way it's set up, Zion felt a bit underwhelming to me, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, maybe that's just me.
It felt very Return of the Jedi. Felt like the Ewok. It felt like the Ewok village.
Okay. I thought it felt more kind of like endless, like Phantom Menace-y, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, a little bit that also.
Yeah, but you know, for the most part, you know, it works, and you see like the inner workings of it, which I quite like.
You see all the colourful characters.
That's right.
The kid.
A spoon.
Link. The exposition man, you know him? He's always like, Neo's flying now. Now he's coming towards you.
He brought Trinity back from the dead. I'm you, the audience. I just talk out loud.
He's done something good. Hooray!
Okay, let's talk about Link. Because the reason...
Well, that's all I have to say.
No.
Just some general derision. That's all I have towards Link.
It leads into something else. And we didn't talk about him last week because I was saving it for this. But Dozer gets a mention.
Because he is killed in the last one.
Yes. Yeah. And Link's girlfriend or wife or whoever that is... I don't know their marital status. I'm sorry,
Okay,
all right?
sure.
Jesus.
But they're orgy partners.
They're orgy partners, yeah. But she mentions that she lost 2 brothers, and I don't think she mentions Tank specifically by name. Tank, of course, lives in the last movie, but dies off screen. You're probably familiar with this, but there was some controversy around that actor. His name's Marcus Chong. I'm just going to read a little bit about this because there's been some back and forth about the specifics of it and some allegations. So in 2003, Marcus Chong filed a lawsuit against Warner Brothers claiming the studio breached a verbal agreement and signed contract to bring Tank back for the Matrix sequels. He alleged that the filmmakers defamed him and claimed he was blackballed in Hollywood following their feud. They countered that the actor made repeated threatening phone calls to Warner Brothers and the Wachowskis after a breakdown in talks over his salary. He was offered $400,000 for both movies, and he wanted $1 million. Thus, his character was written out of the film.
That is actually a lot of money for even $400,000. That's a lot of money for like a background character in a...
But I don't think
that's more than Chris Evans got for the first Captain America movie, I think.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, he's a major player.
That's true.
In the franchise. He would have had a bigger role in this. I liked that character. Everybody else is getting paid upwards of like $15 million.
That's true, yeah.
For 2 movies' work, for spending like over a year filming these, I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
Yeah, fair
especially
enough.
Considering the money that these movies made. Anyway, he actually has a documentary on his YouTube channel where he goes through his entire story if people do want to check it out. I don't think it's as cut as dry as like people necessarily think it is, and like he just demanded money and, you know, whatever. Maybe that is what happened. I don't know, but I just think it's, you know, it's worth mentioning.
Also worth mentioning, because I've just looked it up. He is the adoptive son of Tommy Chong, of Cheech and Chong.
Really?
Yep.
I did not know that.
Well, I mean, it says Tommy Chong. I'm just going to click to see if it is the Tommy Chong.
Absolutely.
It is!
We did it!
We did it. We did it, folks.
That's live. We did that live.
We did it live. That's right.
I think also there's some fight sequences in this that feel superfluous. There's one with Neo and Seraph.
Sure, yes.
It's like they're doing their kung fu on tables and whatever, and it's like, okay, you can just take this out. I recognize that both of these people are excellent martial artists, but like, let's move it along. I think there's a whole lot of Merovingian stuff just running his mouth about fucking causality and shit. And it's like, just get rid of all that.
But he's the Frenchman you love to hate. That's his whole point.
That is true. He actually also becomes one of the main villains in the Matrix Online.
Yeah, we should talk about that now or later.
Now or later. Maybe we'll save it for next week when we talk about
let's do that. Okay, yeah.
Here's something that, though, I do think is great.
Yes.
The highway chase is legit.
Yeah. And they built that highway,
They
right?
built 1.4 kilometers, they built 1.4 miles of real highway to film this. I mean, Morpheus on top of a truck with a katana.
Sure, yes.
It's great.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is as well, when he's fighting an agent, he's got a bit more confidence and, you know, he's a bit more skilled, probably because he saw Neo beat up some agents and he's like, I can probably do this.
Yes. And look, to tie that into, to tie this in with the Merovingian and previous versions of the Matrix, one thing that I do love about this movie is the concept of sort of programs that have come from previous Matrixes that are just monsters. Like apparently, and again, this leads into the Matrix Online. You get some additional information about previous Matrixes. One has been revealed to be sort of a paradise world that people couldn't adjust to because it was too perfect. But one was just like a Transylvania nightmare world filled with werewolves and vampires. What did they think people were going to do with that information? Do you think they would? Did you think that did the machines think that people would be too busy trying not to get their blood sucked or would get bolts put through their neck that they wouldn't? Were they Frankensteins?
I think they went too far either direction.
Yeah, maybe. It's course correcting. Yeah.
I also think they missed a trick in bringing that up, and then there's maybe a guy who gets shot with a silver bullet who's apparently like a werewolf or a vampire or whatever.
Yeah,
but it's like, do you want to explain that a little bit further, or like you've opened up this door?
Yeah.
Let's see it. Let's see more of that.
Also, the Oracle at one point does say every time you hear about a ghost or an alien or a vampire, that's a program. That's a program. That's a rogue program. And in part of my brain's like, no, maybe it's just your friend's a liar. Is every time my friend says that his uncle works at Nintendo and he gets all the free games in advance, is that a rogue program, or is my friend just a liar? But anyway, I was going to say, I love the idea of the ghost twins. But at the same time,
you don't like receding dreadlocks? Receding white dreadlocks?
Well, I was going to say that you didn't even really have to make them ghosts, because honestly, if I saw like two albino men, like white dudes with dreadlocks, I'd run in fear anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care they had ghost powers, just white dudes with dreadlocks. Not for me. Thank you. But I liked that they were just terrifying ghost men with razor blades. There's a scene on the freeway where the good guys are being attacked in a car by both one of the ghosts who's made it into the vehicle and is swinging that razor blade wildly, and there's also an agent on the roof just firing pot shots, and I'm just like, stakes are high.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
That guy's a ghost.
This dude's a ghost. The heck?
Yeah, that whole sequence is great. I mean, they actually got a stunt performer to drive like against traffic. Like a lot of those vehicles are CGI, but a lot of that is real.
I know Carrie-Anne Moss learned to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah.
For this, she hadn't done it before, and Keanu Reeves, who was a huge motorcycle buff, was like, she did it legit. Like she didn't cut any corners.
She didn't let me do it. I wanted to do it because I know about motorcycles.
But
actually.
Whatever, she was just like, nah, this is dibs. She called dibs.
Yeah. Anyways, it took 48 days to film that sequence on the freeway, and all the wood was donated to low-income housing in Mexico. So
that's nice.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I got some more questions because last week I was like, what's going on with this fucking Matrix situation? Some more questions.
Okay.
Again, I'm not really looking for answers, but at the same time, leave them below. You know what to do.
Okay, go on. Here we go.
Is this how premonitions work in the Matrix? Is it based on probabilities? So when like the Oracle is like, you're going to say this and you're going to take this and you're going to fight this guy and it's going to be sick or whatever, and it's going to be bad news also for you. That's math, right?
It must be, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
But when he gains, when Neo gains in power and wisdom, I think she can't see what he's doing anymore.
Yeah, right.
So maybe love.
Maybe love.
Maybe love and maths.
You might be right. So one of the counselors, one of the guys who's the head of Zion.
The guy from Water Rats, sure.
Yeah, he's probably from Water Rats, is he?
I don't know.
Sure. It's not Steve Bisley, is it, from Water Rats?
I don't think it was Steve Bisley.
No. So I thought he'd be somebody because it's mentioned that there's been a lot of previous ones, and I thought maybe he was one of them.
Oh, that was often a theory at the time,
yeah,
I think.
And he's doing like a talk, and he's talking about the balance of machines, but it's just a pep talk from just some fucking dude. Like,
yuck.
I just think, pointless.
Yeah.
Just a guy to be like, machines and people. Yeah, we know. That's a big part of these movies.
Yeah. And also, I was in that Matrix that was the weird Transylvania universe. It sucked. You couldn't go around a corner without some guy wearing a bloody white tie and tails and a chest full of medals going, Blair.
Oh, God, I hated it here. God, I'm never going to sleep, even if I get out of this. Anyway, my other question was about werewolves and whatever, but
we've covered that substantially, yes.
Okay, so one of the big situations, I guess, to come out of this and talking point, and I think a downfall of a lot of people was the architect.
Sure.
And the reveal that, as we mentioned, Neo is one of 6 previous ones who have showed up. And every other one of them has decided to return to the source, save Zion, or save like 12 people, and the cycle continues because he's a particular part of the algorithm which cannot be defeated and just kind of has to let kind of run its course.
Sure.
But he chooses love and he saves Trinity and whatever, and Link goes, he did it, that's my job. Just point things out as they happen. He caught her. That's what he says.
Yeah.
He flew in and he caught her. We're all watching the movie, Link. All of us. I don't mind it. I think it's way too wordy though, right?
I mean,
it's intentionally confusing.
Yeah, I present day me was like, had already steeled myself for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here it comes. Okay, that was less painful than I remember. But at the time, you're a young boy.
Yeah.
You're
a grown man.
I'm an adult, but a stupider adult. And at the time, it just really rammed the brakes on, didn't it?
It did. But I like the idea behind it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And again, we're here rewriting like some of the most popular movies ever made.
Yeah.
But surely there was a better way than Mr. Exposition just sitting in a chair saying, here's an explanation. Could we have not scattered that throughout the course of the movie?
Yeah.
But I mean, that would have been a nightmare as well.
Yeah, well,
just in
that's
between highway chases and fighting vampires or whatever, you also had to put in a series of clues that this was going to happen.
I think you do the same, but you just word it slightly better. And I've never made a movie. What the fuck do I know? But I just think it alienated a lot of people, and it reflects the box office numbers on the next one.
And it became hundreds of memes.
And Will Ferrell did it in the
MTV Movie
whatever,
Awards. Yeah.
But I also think it would have made a huge difference if Neo fucking kicked that guy in the chest. I think that would have
you think so?
saved, just like, shut up, bang.
Oh, no one's ever done this before. Ow.
That wasn't on any of my TVs. Anyways, it ends on a cliffhanger. First of all, I can't believe that the squids just worked out bombs. It's like, come on. But Neo realizes that his powers, they extend outside of the Matrix. That's right, it's back. And the prophecy is nonsense.
Yes.
And he's slipped into a coma. Agent Smith is in a man. He's in a man, and they're having dual comas back to back, head to head, top to tail.
That's right.
No, head to head. And I think that's like a pretty interesting finale, if I'm honest.
Did people did you see it in cinemas at the time?
I saw it with you.
Did you?
Yeah.
How was the audience? Were they like, what the hell?
This is how the audience was. At the start, somebody was yelling at the start, like, oh, the Matrix or whatever. And there was one guy who was like, shut up! Everybody shut up! Like, it was clearly like, this is what he'd been waiting for.
Was it you and me? Are you and me the two people in this story? Hey, Matrix! Hey, shut up!
So that's what I remember. And then we hung around for the trailer at the end.
Yeah.
For the next movie.
But I'm wondering, were the general audiences surprised that it was going to end on a cliffhanger?
Maybe. I mean, they shouldn't be.
But that's the thing. Like, I remember when we saw Infinity War for the first time in theaters, a lot of people were surprised that it ended on a cliffhanger, even though, so much media, so much Twitter chatter and social media was like, there's going to be another one after this. People were still surprised. So in I
think most people don't know that, though. You know what I mean?
Probably, yeah.
They don't know that there's another Matrix coming that year, in the year of the Matrix, it was called.
That's right.
By Warner Brothers. Do you know what it's time for, though?
What's it time for?
It's Matrix V Reloaded.
Nice.
That's right. As I think.
Hey, shut up! We're doing the Matrix VR. The Matrix VR. Just a couple of mates hanging out.
Just having a good time. Sean Connery, I think we talked about this last week, turned down the role of the architect because he didn't understand it, after turning down Gandalf because he didn't understand it, and going on to do his final movie, LXG. He also did some weird animated thing, in 2015, but don't worry about that.
Did he do a James Bond voice in a video game?
He did. They remade one of the James Bond movies as a game from Russia with Love, yes. Singer Aaliyah was cast as Z, but she actually passed away before filming, so that role was recast. So here's an interesting theory that I thought I'd put in. Seraph is theorized to be either an agent from a previous version of The Matrix or one of the 5 previous ones due to his skill. And also when Neo sees him, he's like glowing gold.
Yeah, right.
So, maybe he's a digitized version of the one that escaped the source or something.
Maybe,
I don't know, but there you go.
That's a Matrix view, all right.
Great, reloaded. The Merovingian, his swearing in French translates to goddamn whore, filthy shithouse jerk burger. Of your mother.
Okay.
So there you go. We know this, but Reloaded and Revolutions are shot back to back, along with footage for Enter the Matrix, which again, we might come back to, but we also might come back to, this is worth mentioning, the Animatrix, a lot of which serves as a prequel to this movie.
Got to see the backstory for the kid.
What's the kid up to? Also, I don't know this character. I don't care about him. I don't want to see him. Get out of here. Also, shout out to Lee Winnell, one of the minds behind the Saw franchise, and more recently, The Invisible Man.
He's Axel.
He's Axel. He's probably in Enter the Matrix also.
That's right.
In that 40 minutes they shot. Anyway, do you want to talk about box office?
Yes.
This, off a budget of $150 million, made $739 million. Easily the biggest of the franchise.
Yeah, back in the day, that was considered a lot of money.
Yeah.
These days, abject failure.
Why would you even bother making a movie? You could have put it in Dogecoin and doubled your investment.
That's
and
right.
then some, perhaps. So, yeah, there you go. We'll be back next week to talk about the Matrix Revolutionans. And we're going to be like...
James, it's
What?
the Matrix Revolutionans.
I apologize. And we're going to be like, why is 40 minutes of this a mech battle with people we don't care about?
Oh, we didn't even mention the mechs. I saw them and I'm like, oh, no, this is coming. 40-minute mech battle. Why wouldn't you protect your head? Put a screen over it.
Yep.
Put an oven door or something. I don't know.
That's fine. Put a fly screen.
Fly
At
screen
least
would
the
work.
illusion of something being there.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is Caravan of Garbage. We do this every week. And guess what? If you want to see them early, you can head over to bigsandwich.co. Ben and Lawrence, who do fantastic editing on this, they get them up there early.
Get them up.
They get them right up. Also, we have bonus podcasts. We have movie commentaries. Our regular podcast, The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows, comes out a day early. Thanks for watching this. We really appreciate it. And as we always say at the end of each video,
It's the Matrix way.
hey, shut up! I'm watching The Matrix!
It's the Matrix way. And grab that gem, you guys. We'll see you next week.
I'm watching The Matrix!
Ah.
Goodbye. This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
I mean, if you want. It's up to you.